We're studying Chapter 10 this week, and you got a chance to start. I wanted to make sure that we previewed the chapter. On page 270 and 271 in your textbook, you'll see the overview of Chapter 10. And we didn't do this before, probably should have done it for Chapter 9 on video, but here it is for Chapter 10 moving ahead. And it's really important to make sure that you preview a chapter so you know what's coming. At the beginning of each chapter, it'll have a title for the chapter. In this case, we're studying Southwest Asia and North Africa today. All the current events, issues, all of the topics that are important in modern Southwest Asia and North Africa. I want you to make sure to preview each section in the chapter so you have an idea of what's coming, and maybe map out a little bit in your mind what the important topics are going to be. The first section of the second chapter of every unit from now on is going to deal with culture. And so the first chapter, chapter 9, that was geography and history. The second chapter, culture, government, economics. And that's the pattern for our study and for this textbook. The first section is on culture. We're going to learn about the culture of some traditional groups, ethnic groups, in Southwest Asia and North Africa. The first lesson on migration and trade focuses on three groups. One group is in Southwest Asia, the Middle East, and the Arabian Peninsula. The second group is in North Africa, and those groups are traditional ethnic groups. The third group, guest workers, are immigrants from other parts of the world who move to Southwest Asia and North Africa for work. So we'll kind of get a sense of those three groups. Istanbul is a major city in the region. It's the bridge between Asia and Europe on a geographic level. But it's also a cultural bridge. And we've learned in the past about how it was Constantinople and then became known as Istanbul. Exploring ancient Israel is looking at the history of the coastline of ancient Israel, and it's a little bit of a throwback to what was happening during the Roman period and how archaeologists study that. And then finally, the last lesson in section 1 is on Dubai, which is in the United Arab Emirates. And one of the things that I'm going to do is do a comparison between Istanbul and Dubai. So we're going to practice our compare and contrast skills using those two cities. The second section is on government and economics, and we're going to learn about different kinds of governments in general, and then we're going to look at the different kinds of governments that exist in the region. Of course, the major resource in the region is oil, petroleum. We're going to learn more about oil and wealth and how wealth is from that oil is distributed. We're going to learn more about the tensions in Southwest Asia, particularly the conflict between Israelis and Palestinians. In Lesson 2.4, we'll get a sense of Iraq and the problems that have plagued Iraq, but also the possibilities. And then finally, we'll be looking at Afghanistan. The U.S. has been involved heavily in this region, supporters of Israel and to some extent Palestinians. We've had troops in Iraq since the early 2000s, and we've continued to fight a war in Afghanistan for almost a generation, for 20 years. So we'll look at Afghanistan. And then this last lesson is a global issue on standard of living, and it's about building schools and sort of the effort that the U.S. and other Western allies have been involved in as far as building schools. So make sure that you get a good sense of the overview of the chapter and what we'll be studying. Here are the key vocabulary words and terms and names. These are all good to keep track of as well. So spend some time, looking that over, kind of previewing the chapter. And then you can also just look at this awesome picture. This is a souk. It's a traditional market in Morocco. And it's really cool. So you can click on the picture if you're in your online textbook and get a sense of what these traditional markets look like. And it's something that you could explore a little bit more. I mean, what does a souk look like in the region today? Thanks for joining me.